What's up, you guys? Welcome back to another vlog. As you read the title of the story, you already know what this video is going to be about. For those that came looking for the video because you are currently going through it, I want to tell you from the bottom of my heart that I am very sorry for what happened to you or what you're going through, and y'all are young and y'all don't know how to express yourself and you feel like your world is ending. Well, this video is mainly for you. When I lost my virginity, it was not what I would have chose. When I lost my virginity, I believe I was 11, like late 11 or early 12. I believe I had barely turned 12. So this video, if you're wondering why I'm not crying about it, it's just that I already cried a lot for it. It takes time, but you have to get through it and pull yourself through it because it's not worth you hanging on to it. Just know it happened and try your best to move on and accept what happened, because that's just how things went. And things that already happened, you can't change, but you can change the way you are in the future. Okay, so my story and how it happened to me, a lot of people obviously don't know this because this is not something you talk about. I don't think I ever talked about it to anyone. No family member, no friend, no nothing. Maybe they know what happened, but they don't know like details of what led to it or how it happened. And I'm here to talk about it with details because I know a lot of people go through it and just want somebody to relate to. Okay, around that time, when I was that age, we had those house phones. We didn't really have cell phones. There was this one time that I had a friend and he invited me out to go eat. And you know how to get to a girl. He was not a boyfriend, he was just a friend. And you know us girls, so girls, y'all be careful. Even some guys, so same, be careful, don't fall for it. So it was more of a, hey, do you want to go eat? And I'm like, yeah, but at this age I have no business going out, right? So I'm like, how am I gonna do it? My parents are not gonna let me. So what did I do? I sneaked out, and there I go, sneaking out like at 9 or 10 at night when my parents are obviously not thinking I'm gonna sneak out. So I'm in my room, a long time's coming, and in my head I was like, okay, so my friend, obviously he's young too, he was around my age, he was probably like 12 or something. I remember I asked him, so who's gonna pick us up? Who's gonna pick me up? He said, I have a friend that is gonna take us to go eat. So I said, okay, that's fine. So I gave them my address and they went to go pick me up. When I got in the vehicle, they left me in the passenger side. My friend was in the back, and the guy driving, his friend, the driver. And when I tell you that this guy was 25 years old and he knew what he was doing, now I think about him like, oh, you're nasty. You really had to go for 11, 12-year-old, huh? Yeah. You're disgusting. But anyways, moving on. So they go pick me up, I get in the car, I'm in the passenger side, and we start driving off to go eat. So I thought. So then as we were driving, the car ride was very quiet. There was no music, my friend wasn't talking, and the driver wasn't talking either. So the whole ride, I was just staring outside the window. It was already late. Well, not late, but it was already night. Definitely late for my age. So I know it sounds crazy, but this is how it happened. I remember while I was staring at the moon, I had a feeling that I was gonna lose my virginity. And you guys, when I tell you, I had no idea really what that meant, because your parents never talk about it. And school doesn't really talk about it, especially at that age, you know. So it was a voice that I can't describe, or a feeling. It was more like a feeling. It was very straightforward. And mind you, like when you're young, you don't know how to react, and you're scared to react because you're scared of what people might think. So then as we were going, then the driver ends up saying something about, oh, I forgot my wallet, I need to go and pick it up, it's at my place, I'm really close by here, let me just go and pick it up and then we go and eat. So at this point I'm just like, okay, but in a shy way, like, I mean, come on, it's like a stranger, you know. Okay, so then we end up pulling up to his apartment. It was his 2 stories apartment. He obviously parks and he says, he turns off his truck, he says, I'm gonna go grab my wallet, do you want to come? And in my head I'm thinking like, well, no, there's no reason for me to come because you're just gonna go pick up your wallet. But then again, you're young, so you don't say nothing. And I said, no, that's okay, I'll stay here. So then the guy again goes, no, you should just come, it's right there, come with me to go get it. Once again, I'm reminding you, you're young. It's not that easy for you to say no. Well, at least that was my problem. So the sooner you learn how to say no, the better it is for you later on in life or throughout life. Don't worry about what people are gonna feel. Just say no. So I got off, which I do regret, but hey, you can't do nothing about it anymore. So I got off. So my friend gets off too, and we all go in the apartment. We get in and I'm standing and he goes to his fridge and grabs a beer. And I'm here, my head's like, why is he grabbing a beer? But I don't say anything. Then he goes and sits down on his couch and just sits there sipping on his beer, and I'm over here like, and my friend was in the other couch. So then he asked me to sit down next to him. So there, me in my head, I'm like, well, he's probably wants to sip a beer and then we're gonna leave. So I go and sit down, and as I'm sitting down, he literally leans towards me and starts kissing me. And it was like really ugly. Like the feeling was disgusting. It was just really unpleasant. So anyways, I'm like trying to, you know, go back, but you know, he's like literally like grabbing me towards him. And then everything else just happened really fast. You're like, okay, so where's your friend at? I feel like my friend done did set me up. So no, he wasn't a friend. He was there. I don't know his side of the story. I don't know if the guy tricked him and me. I mean, I don't know. Because after things went down, I didn't really talk to him much. Just like later on, but I'll explain to you why. So after he's over here trying to grab me and like kissing me towards him, he literally gets up and pulls me to his room like from my hand. And I'm like, no. He's like, yeah. And I'm like, And basically, he pulled me to his room. And that's where everything happened. This is not for the weak, so it's just talking about what happened for the ones that are going through it. I don't want you to feel like you're alone. So obviously I was fighting back. Like, I didn't want it to happen. Nobody had ever talked to me about what was going on, but I knew what was happening. It was weird. Like, I knew it wasn't right. I was crying, it hurted. I was telling him to stop and stop. He would just say, no, hold on, hold on, hold on. And I'm like trying to move. But mind you, I'm just 11, 12 years old. This is a 25-year-old guy. And I wasn't really that big. I was small. Then after that, he took me home. I honestly don't even remember if my friend was in the car. I was so traumatized, scared, trying to process everything that happened. I think I was in shock. I don't really remember the drive back. I know we drove back because I remember going home and crying. I cried for so long. I cried for days, and I was scared to tell my parents. How do you explain your parents, hey mom and dad, I'm not a virgin and I sneaked out and this is what happened to me? So I literally went to school for the next day, and honestly, like, I was just going through it. I would go back home, I would just stay in and cry every day, and I would do it to where my parents wouldn't notice. I cried so much thinking about how am I gonna tell my parents I'm not a virgin, and they always wanted me to get married in a white dress. Days went on and I was traumatized. I was scared. I didn't know what to do. So sometimes you just need somebody to go talk to, you know. So what I did was I ended up going to the counselor. I told the counselor what happened. At this point, she's thinking that this is a teenage boy. She didn't bother asking me the age yet, you know, so she just told me, just go home and talk to your parents and let them know what happened. They're gonna understand, and I'll call you back in the next day. And a few days went by. She kept calling me in, asking me, hey, did you tell your parents? And I was like, no, I haven't. And she basically gave me like 3 to 4 days, right, for me to tell my parents. But mind you, she didn't know the age of the guy. So then she finally asked me, probably like on the 3rd day, hey, and how old was this guy? And I remember that at that time I didn't know how old he was. I just know he was an adult. And I told her, I don't know. And then she kind of asked me to give her like más o menos, like, what do you think the age was? Was he 15 years old? I'm like, no, he was older. And then she's like, 18. I'm like, maybe older. And then she's like, oh, then she realized that, oh, this was worse than what I already was, you know. This was an adult. I guess she figured out that I wasn't gonna tell my parents because I was too scared to tell them. I guess she ended up calling my parents without telling me. So my parents had to go to school. Somehow I ended up missing the bus. And I called my dad like, pa, can you come pick me up? And my dad's like, ya voy para allá, ya va tu mamá para allá. Nos habló the counselor called us, so we're already on our way. Your mom's on the way, I'm on the way. But my dad was coming off from his job. He left early. He was already mad because of that. And then my mom was on her way to school, and I kind of stayed in shock because I figured why they were coming, but they didn't know why they were coming. I guess they were just upset because they were like, well, what did you do now, you know? But anyways, so the counselor, when I'm calling, estaba su office or whatever, so she basically saw me. She's like, okay, your parents are on their way, so just sit down here, you know. And she told me we're working to tell them all this and all that. And literally, I was like panicking. I was so scared. Like, I don't think I ever been that scared. So I stayed waiting for my parents in the chairs right there by the office. So a few minutes later, my dad gets to the school and my mom does too. And I'm there, right? So then, like, the counselor, she's over there talking to my parents in a nice way, like, oh, okay, vamos a hablar, queremos hablar con ustedes. Basically, she's telling them they want to talk to them. So they take all of us into the principal's office. So mind you, there's the principal, the vice principal, the counselor, the cop, my dad, my mom, and me. I was scared. Okay, so by this time, everybody else knew. I guess the counselor had talked to all of them, the reason why they were having this meeting with my parents. So they already knew. The only ones that didn't know was my parents. So then the principal said some stuff trying to tell my parents that there's just something that I had to tell them. And the counselor was, of course, like very nice and gentle. And she also told my parents, okay, that there was something that I had to tell them and that it was very important and I was really scared to tell them. And that's why she was hosting a meeting, because it was important for them to know. Mind you, everybody's staring at me, okay? I'm in a chair, all quiet, little and scared. Mom and my dad are staring at me like mad because they have no idea why they're there. They just know their daughter did something really bad and they are not happy about it. The counselor sits next to me and she's just there grabbing my hand. She's basically telling me, go ahead and tell them. And I'm looking at her like, no, I'm not saying no, but I'm like, she goes, it's okay, you know, it's gonna be all right. Well, I'm right here, just go ahead and tell them. And I wouldn't say anything. I mean, I couldn't say anything. I wouldn't dare to say that, you know. I was so scared. And I was mainly scared to break my parents' heart. I think that's what hurt it the most, because it's not something I would have chose, but it happened. I guess she realized I wasn't gonna say anything. Oh, she went off and told them herself. So like, okay, well, since you're not ready, I'm gonna go ahead and tell them. You want me to go ahead and tell them for you? And I said, So then is whenever she started spilling details about what happened to my parents. She told them that I had lost my virginity and I was scared to tell them, and the reason that they're hosting a meeting is because they believe that the guy that did that, it's an adult. And at this point, I know my mom cried, my dad, I remember him being heartbroken. I mean, it was a shock to them, so they cried. After we had the meeting and everything, like, I was scared to go home. And I remember that was like the only time my mom cussed at me, like, ever in my life. Like, my mom is not one of those ladies that just like be cussing out of nowhere for any reason or at all. Never. And that day, she did. At that time, my mom used to drive a minivan, and she was driving, so I sat all the way in the back seat because I'm scared. Like, with Hispanic parents, I don't know, it's like, you gotta be ready to dodge things, you know. I understand she was mad at me. When we left, we basically drove to the police office to place a report to press charges. And my dad got there, everybody got there, so there was like an whole investigation going on. And that's when I found out that the guy was 25 years old. I found out his name. My parents were very supportive. My dad cried, he hugged me, you know, he basically apologized that it was their fault, but in reality, like, it's not. Who's thinking their little girl is nicking out? This was so random. This is not something I used to do. After that, remember the friend. So I was walking somewhere in school, minding my business, and he goes up to me and tells me, like, mind you, I hadn't talked to him at all ever since that happened. And I think he knew he did wrong, but I don't know if he purposely did it or if he got brainwashed into doing it, because he was young too. But he went up to me and he told me, hey, I just want to tell you that so-and-so got locked up. I just said, okay. I didn't want to know anything. But that's my story, and it was hard and it took a while to get over it, but I'm making this video for all of you that are gonna end up searching this video because you are currently crying and sad. I just want to tell you that time will heal wounds. You definitely won't forget, but you'll learn to live with it. I mean, in reality, you got no choice but to move on. And you have to do it for yourself because you're worth it. And don't let that whatever happens in your life or whatever scars you in your life keeps you from being happy in the future. Okay, well, I'm sending a bunch of love to you, and I just want you to know that everything's gonna be okay. You should definitely go to your parents or to an adult that you can trust. Or even if you gotta get in trouble, let your parents know, because at the end of the day, they're gonna have your back and they're gonna try to do their best to protect you. Whenever you hide situations from your parents or from whoever your guardian is, they can't help you. You want to get help, you would like to get help, so the faster you take care of the situation, the faster you start healing. Sending lots of love to you. And if you want to see more videos, I'm gonna be talking about my life, and I have been through a lot of situations. And if you want to see more, please subscribe. If this video helped you, you could go ahead and put a thumbs up. If not, just don't put anything. I just really honestly hope it helped you, and I will see you in the next video. God bless you and take care. Bye.